What's up, you guys? So today I am here with my good friend Crystal. It's her birthday today, so I decided, and she asked me if I could do her makeup for her birthday. So I thought, you know what? Let's film it and see what happens. So I think we're gonna go for kind of like a glam, smoky kind of eye. She has a black dress, so let's see if we can play with some colors. Let me think. I'm trying to think. So, thank you so much for all the feedback on my last video.
Alright, so the first thing that I did was I took the Cover FX mattifying primer and I put that all over Crystal's face, and then afterwards I sprayed her face with the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray so that she could have a nice base for her foundation. So I used Crystal's makeup that she brought, and she likes the MAC Studio Fix foundation, and she is in the color NW47, and I really like this primer. I've never used it before, and I just really liked how mattifying it was, and it looked really good on her skin. It's funny because she was telling me she only uses about 3 or 4 drops of her foundation, but I think I used about 8 drops to cover her face because we're going to go out, and so I thought, you know what, she needs a full beat that needs to stay all night. And then I blended it away with a beauty blender. It was so much fun doing her makeup because I've never done somebody who was darker than me, and so it was really fun to experiment and to be able to learn how to do somebody else's makeup that isn't my skin color, so it has helped me and definitely has taught me a lot.
Looking for a way out of this cage you keep me in. Your hands touch my neck as your breath creeps up underneath my skin. I can't help but to want it. If you want my love, come get it. And I can't fight that grip on my heart.
Next, the concealer that she brought was a MAC concealer. I'm not really sure what it is like specifically called, but I know what the shade is. It's NW45. I really like this because it was a cream base and it wasn't a very like liquidy like Shape Tape is. So I really like this, and I think I'm gonna start working with more cream based concealers because her makeup at the end looks so good. Over on top of her concealer, I put my own Naked Skin concealer. I use the color medium light. I wanted to lighten it up over underneath her eyes to create a little bit more of a highlighting effect, because that concealer that she had, the MAC one, the NW45, it was really nice, but it wasn't as brightening as I wanted it to be.
And if love is a drug, I don't want it, because I don't have any self-control. The harder I try to get off it, the more I can see that I need it. I was hoping that you'd see what my heart's doing to me, 'cause your love.
I then took the Coty Airspun Extra Coverage Translucent Powder, and then I just set underneath her eyes and anywhere that she would crease. So that was her smile line, her nose, underneath the eye, and her forehead. But the thing to worry about is, especially on darker skin tones, it happens on me too, that if you leave it on for too long, it becomes too light and it doesn't look correct. So you make sure to wipe it off with more of a foundation that is more, it's an actual foundation color. So it looks a lot better. Actually, the foundation that I used was Smashbox, and it was really nice for her skin because it made her look really airbrushed, and since it was a pressed powder, it looked really nice on her skin.
And if love is a drug, I don't want it, because I don't have any self-control. The harder I try to get off it, the more I can see that I need it.
Now I'm going to set her eyes with the Urban Decay eyelid primer. Before I started on her eyes, I had Crystal go off camera and put her own eyebrows on because she has her own way and I didn't want to mess it up for her. So the first color that I went in was in the Morphe 34B palette. I initially did not know where to find the shade or the palette name, but I found it on the back, so that was really funny. I used one of the colors that Crystal uses a lot for her transition shade, and I just put that all in the lid, and I used the Morphe M432 brush. And I went in with the Jaclyn Hill palette, and I used the color Mocha with that same Morphe M32 brush. And I also put that in her crease for a transition shade because I wanted something a little bit darker and to show in the smoky eye. The Jaclyn Hill palette, and so the color Diva is what I used, and I wet just a little flat synthetic e.l.f. brush, and I just packed that onto her lid going from her inner corner, and I kind of swooped it out to make like a false crease. And to create a little bit more of a dimension with Diva, I went in with the Tarte Holiday Limited Edition palette, and I used the color Odyssey. And again, I used the same synthetic flat e.l.f. brush, and I just put that in the center of the eye to create more of an illusion and more depth in the eye. And then Jaclyn Hill palette, I used the color Abyss, and I used the IT Cosmetics Cosmetics brush in N105 to deepen her outer V with Abyss. And then powder brush, and I wiped off the translucent powder with some more of that Smashbox foundation.
I was just telling you.
Oh my god, that cat eye though.
And now onto the face. For her contour, I used the NYX face powder contour kit, and I used the darkest shade to the right, and then I took the e.l.f. small stipple brush to create her contour line. And then taking a smaller synthetic e.l.f. brush, I used that same color to contour her nose. She's never had her nose contoured before, so I didn't bronze up her face. And then onto my all-time favorite part about this whole look was I was able to use the Jeffree Star Cosmetics highlighter in the color Dark Horse, and let me tell you, it was so pretty. I loved it so much, and I was so excited that I was able to use it on Crystal, and she looks so good.
I got it because I just love the color.
And I put that in the usual spots, the Cupid's bow, a little bit on the nose, in the upper parts of her cheeks, and I used that. I don't want to go too crazy, but I wanted to create a little bit of a snatch nose, but not too small because she wasn't used to it, so I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. What's not pictured in the video is the bronzer that I used. I just used the same bronzer that I have always been using in that Tarte Holiday palette, but I used the darker, a little bit of shimmery bronzer in that palette to bronze up her face. And I put that in the usual spots, the Cupid's bow, a little bit on the nose, in the upper parts of her cheeks, and I used that color also to highlight her brow bone. I went in with a lighter highlighter. I used the Becca Champagne Pop, but I realized it was too light, so I went back in and I went back with the Dark Horse to create. So it wouldn't look so white on her because it definitely wasn't as flattering as I hoped. And then I took the Tarte Holiday palette and I used the color Awe, and I used the Morphe E36 brush to line her lash line and smoke out her eyes so it looked a lot better. Now let me tell you, Crystal is such a trooper. I've never worked with anybody before, but she was really good for my first person to do makeup on because she didn't flinch when I put the brush underneath her eye, so I was really excited and I'm really happy how it turned out. And then using that same Morphe E36 brush, I used the color Wayfarer in that palette to deepen the outer corner underneath her lash line. And then I went back in with the Morphe E432 brush to blend out the rest of her eye to make it look more seamless and flawless. And then off camera, we put on her lashes and mascara to complete her look. Lip gloss. It was just like a lightish pink, but it looked really clear, but it looked really nice with her makeup look.
Right, and so here is the finished look. She looks so good. Thank you so much for coming and letting me do your makeup. It's so exciting. So we're gonna head out. I know it's gonna be a quick outro, but stay tuned. I have a couple of really awesome looks that I'm gonna be planning on doing, but I really wanted to try and do someone else's makeup on my channel. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching. We're gonna go have some fun, get lit, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Mwah.